who is working with parents? Okay. Who's working with teens and children? The rest of you? Awesome. So even though we have like a very diverse group, we'll have crises in all of these ages. So it's really important we learn this. And we started last semester, and there are so many terms in this internship. So like when Julie's out there throwing out the managing director and the regional coordinators and the site educational coordinators, it's like, whoa, what is going on? So just ask questions. It's like drinking from a fire hose, but you'll get there. Maybe by week 10, by the end of the semester, but you'll get there. So that's kind of just a start. So pay attention. If you have questions, just ask. We want to talk about the roles. So this was kind of already covered by Julie. The first one is the BSWs. So they're also known as the clinical coordinators. So BSW, clinical coordinators, same thing. And I don't think any of them are in here right now, but there's 3 of them, and there will be at least one at your site. And their roles is they'll be there the whole time, and so if you ever need anything, you can go grab a BSW. They also do home visits, which you guys will be going on, and they also teach a teen group. You can go to them for resources. They have a lot of great resources that they can give you guys for, like, if the family needs some legal aid, there's free legal aid, or if they need food stamps or anything like that, they know how to set your families up with resources. And then we are the MSW, so there's Jessica and Wilma and Mandy, and I'm Vari. And our job is we'll be on site too, and so we kind of are in charge of the whole site. So if there is anything you need that can't be answered by the educational coordinator, so that's the person that's over the teachers, and that's the person you'll be dealing with most often with your lessons and class arrangements and things like that. But if they can't answer your question, you can come to us, and we're always happy to answer any questions. We can also give resources. Our main goal and function is to keep everything running smoothly and to help in crisis. So if there's ever any question of any problems, come find us. We're happy to help. And then we also do therapy. And sometimes we're doing it on site, but most of the time we do it at the house up there. And we do it with your families that want to get those resources. It's free. So if you ever feel like your family could use therapy, you can come talk to us. So those are the kind of the roles. Do you guys have questions about anything with the roles? Who does what? Yeah.
So are the MSWs over all the sites, or is it like a specific one?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's, all right, so the MSWs, she asked if they're over all the sites, or if they're over a specific site. So we're over a specific site. So I'm not quite sure who yours is, but I'm over Lake Ridge. So I'll be at the Lake Ridge site, and I'll be in charge of that. And sometimes I'll be helping at Pleasant Grove as a secondary. So, oh, Jessica's yours. So there you go. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you for asking.
So when you mentioned that you will be doing the therapy at the house, what do you refer to, at the people's house or?
Oh,
at the
good.
house?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So do you guys remember when we did the kickoff?
Be sure to repeat the question.
Oh, okay. So he asked if we do therapy at their house or at some other house. So the house I'm referring to is the SFP house, which is where we did the kickoff. Yeah, so it's like an office, but it's also a house. So my husband always gets confused when I'm like, I'm going to the house. He's like, wait, where are you going? So it's the therapy office / SFP house. It used to be a daycare, so that's why it's like has little weird toilets and stuff. Anyway, so your guys' role, there's lots of families. Most sites have like 5 to 15. There's lots of variety, but there's just one of us at each site, so we don't get to know the families one-on-one. So when Vari was saying like your family, she's referring to the family that you'll be assigned to, and you'll eat dinner with them and talk with them. And so this is super important because we can't like get to know all of them. Is it not working? Oh.
Mine?
Okay, sorry, we're new to this recording thing too. So yeah, you guys will just connect with the families and pass on information to us. So, and if you just have questions about like, oh, this thing happened, then just ask, because we've all been there and done that. So you can switch slides. So there's another chart drawn on the board, but this is the same thing on our PowerPoint. So we have you guys are the family coaches. Not that you're below us, but in lines of reporting, you'll report to the BSW, the MSW, or the site educational coordinators. So lines of reporting, so what we are referring to is if there's like an issue, if someone gets hurt, if someone like discloses negative feelings that you're not sure about, you can ask the BSW or the MSWs, and then we will report to Rich Heido. He's actually like super awesome. I wish he was here to talk to you guys because he knows a lot and he's just like all over the place and awesome. So, so he's on the clinical side. So if we have like therapeutic issues or questions, we talk to him. And then administrative issues, we talk with Julie or Mackenzie, who are the director and the managing director. So, and then the important thing Mackenzie asked us to talk about on the training online, it said that there was a question about if a participant falls, like do you get the parents or do you talk to one of the site leaders? But the correct answer is talking to the site leaders first, and then we'll involve the parents. Because we've been trained on like how to talk with them and involve them. So always report, just report if you don't know. We had someone that reported something last semester, like I wanted to laugh, but I was like, okay, she's really concerned about this, so that's fine. And I'd rather have her like tell me than not say anything. So just over-report and we can work it out. And tell the site leaders before you tell the participants' parents. Let's just do a practice quiz. This is so fun. I can see in all of your faces that you're like, yes! So who could you contact if a participant falls down and is bleeding? We have site educational coordinator, MSW, BSW, or Mackenzie, Rich, and Julie. Luis, you look like you know. You could contact A. This is a trick question because there's multiple that are correct. So A is right. Jessica, do you have an idea?
I would say whoever's closest. So whoever you see next.
That's a good.
If you see the MSW, tell the MSW. If you see the BSW, tell the BSW. Yeah, whoever you can get in touch with the quickest.
Awesome. Okay, so potentially you could contact A, B, or C, so you can switch. But yeah, we had an intern last semester. We had a couple issues. She was like emailing Julie and then emailing Mackenzie and then like texting me, and it's just the chain of command is immediately, like when you see someone, tell them right away what happened, and then we can work it out. We also had some issues where, like after site, someone emailed me at 11 and said, this kid said this, is this an issue? And it was a big deal. So we had to actually like send the cops to check on the family because we weren't in contact with them and it was really late at night. So it's so much better to over-report and to do it like as soon as something happens.
And so one of the main things we want to be looking out for is if there's suicidality. And so most of the time what you want to do, sometimes it's not very comfortable right in the moment when you are getting the sense that they might have thoughts of suicide to just run out right then and grab us. So you might have to do a little bit of talking, but you always want to find a good time where you can come get us, or if someone's in the room that you could report to, so we'll be going around in classes, so you always have someone to kind of find. You might want to just kind of signal at us that you need us to come over, and we'll come right over and help. But maybe until you can do that, you might need to talk to the person a little bit because they've already had a relationship with you and kind of confided in you, so you might be doing some talking. And so these are the 3 things you want to watch out for with suicide. You want to find out how severe it is. So what does it look like? Are they having thoughts of suicide? Have they already come up with a plan of how they want to do it? How severe is it? And then the next one is duration. How long have you had these feelings? So is it something that just came on right now, or has this been weeks, months, and it's building? And then frequency is how often this happens. Do you feel like this every month or so, or are you feeling like this all the time, or a couple times a day? So those are the kind of things you want to find out and ask them, and that's the kind of thing you want to convey to us once you get a hold of us. So if someone comes to you and is telling you they're feeling suicidal, or they're feeling really depressed, or they think they might want to kill themselves, you kind of want to talk to them, but you also want to be thinking in your head, how am I going to get a hold of either BSW, an MSW, or the educational coordinator? And we're going to have walkie-talkies this time, so you could try and radio us and just say, hey, I need your help in here.
Because there's not really good cell service at some of the schools.
It's like AF doesn't have great cell service. Or if you have your partner, your teacher, you can say, hey, I need you to go get so-and-so. And then you might want to, you don't want to be alone in your class, so you might need to take your class or figure out a way that your kids won't be alone. But you want to find us. Does that make sense? Okay.
I
Yeah.
have a question. So if I'm a teacher and someone makes a comment about feeling suicidal or something like that, am I just supposed to address that, like, and continue this conversation in front of the whole class?
I would say you would like quickly address it, and then you would figure out a way to have the other teacher maybe pull them off to the side, so still in the same room and still in the same eyesight, and then have the big discussion with them then.
And who should be having that discussion? Like, should me as a teacher be having that discussion? Or?
Maybe initially, but you need to, so maybe initially you're starting to, but as soon as you can break away and find someone, then.
Thank you.
So last semester we had an awesome intern. She's actually back with us again, so we didn't scare her away yet. Can you go back, actually? You're good. So she was super awesome with her family, and she was actually super awesome with other families too. So she taught the parent class, and she noticed that one of the participants was like acting kind of weird that day. So she talked to her after class, and the participant just said, yeah, like I'm feeling really down. I've had thoughts of ending my life. And this is why we do this training, because she kept talking with her, and then we all went home, and we didn't know that this had happened. So like Vari was saying, it's important to, like, they trust you, and obviously that's why they're talking to you, but you need to involve someone else who's had more training in suicide prevention. So a good way to do this is, like, if Jessica told me that, I could be talking with her, keep eye contact, and say, like, wow, this is really important, and I'm so glad that you shared that with me and that you could trust me, and I want to get you the most help that I can. So I'm going to involve Vari in our conversation, just because she has more training and tools that can help you overcome these feelings. But thank you so much. Is it okay if I grab Vari really fast? So I'm maintaining, like, the trust in the relationship and bringing a BSW or an MSW in. Yeah.
What if they say no?
That's a good question. So what would you suggest, Julie? Oh, so her question was, what if they say no? In conjunction with the Strengthening Families curriculum and this internship, we are all mandatory reporters. So we have signed documents, and so you would tell her or him that you'll have to involve an MSW, maybe not right this second, but eventually, and so they'll have to carry on that conversation later. And Julie said this also isn't just with suicide, it also could be with, like, abuse or other things. The parent doesn't have to talk to the MSW, like, immediately, but you'll say, I will be passing this information on to make sure you get home safe. So Danielle's question was, if they've had these thoughts in the past, is it something we have to report? So we wouldn't report it, but we just check in with them and make sure. Because if that's something they're disclosing to us, I feel like people in that situation, they'll disclose, like, yeah, in the past I felt like that, but not now. But they're bringing that up because they might have a little bit of that now. So it's not like something we have to report, but we'll just, like, check on them more. So since they're trusting us.
When somebody tells us that they are having suicidal thoughts and we are saying that we're mandatory reporters, we don't call and, like, tattle on them that they're suicidal. Like, that's not what we mean by that. We mean that if we hear that they have thoughts of hurting themselves or hurting another person, or there has been a history of abuse, then we call and we will report that to DCFS, Adult Protective Services, whatever needs to be reported there. But like was mentioned, last semester we did have to call and have police go do what's called a welfare check on a family to make sure that that individual was safe at home and that they weren't going to do anything to harm themselves. So that's what we mean when we're mandatory reporters. Now, if you guys hear anything that could be self-harm, suicidal, homicidal in nature, we want to hear about it just so we can touch bases and make sure that they have all the resources they need to deal with such strong emotions and that. Does that make sense? So you guys will report it to us, but we're not reporting it to anybody really. I mean, we'll report it to Rich, but like it doesn't leave our agency is what I'm saying.
It's just, like, to protect us and make sure that we're taking care of people. So You can switch slides now. Thanks, good clarification. No, that was fine. You got to smell my breath too. Okay, so let's have you guys pair up, and one of you can be a client and one can be like the family liaison or the family coach. And disclose, it doesn't have to be suicidal ideation, it can be like abuse or one of the things we've been talking about. And then practice your response. So Wilma is a second year MSW, so she has like
I just wanted
one
to
more
add
year more than me.
something,
She's
when
awesome.
When it comes to suicide or reporting something, and I think some things that were kind of already made, like we kind of said it already, but sometimes it can be scary when someone talks to you about these things, and so we have to remain really calm and not, you know what I mean, like use your poker face, you know, and like Mandy said, I really loved what she said because you talked about how much you care about them, and this is about their safety, like Julie said. And so it is, you know, we do have to, as an agency, cover our bases, but if you really let the person know, especially if they're coming to you because they trust you, that it's about their safety and you really care about them, and that's why you need to involve someone else because their safety is our number one priority, like Julie said, and that's when they're, you know, because maybe they're telling you in confidence, but they don't want you to tell anybody else. But that's what you have to do because you care about them.
Awesome, thanks. So Casey said in Rich Heido's video, he said we shouldn't hug participants. And obviously that's there for a good reason. But if it's like a couple, like a second hug, you know what I mean, then that's okay.
So if they
You have to stand by me.
I don't know.
I was hugged by a couple participants last semester, and it's not like you can be like, get away from me. So as long as it's like a tasteful hug, does that make sense? Like not like lingering hug. Does that sound right to you?
Rich is the one that would be the best at this. I'm a hugger, so this is hard for me. But if they initiate it, and also if it's a moment where you can be like doing this type of thing, it's going to be okay, okay? But we're not be like, oh, you know, that kind of, you know, okay? So we don't want to misinterpret anything sexual, and I think that's what Rich is trying to say. So you know what? It's okay to touch. It's okay to rub their back in that moment, but you know, keep it
Professional.
professional.
Yeah.
We just, I
That's
know
good.
Rich is probably going to not like what I just said, but when they're talking about some deep feelings, they may reach out for something like that.
So Jessica said there's like you can like put an arm on their shoulder. There's tasteful touches, right? Like a touch here is not tasteful. Touch here probably is okay. So just use your social judgment and yeah, be in the moment. You can be in the moment with them, right? If they're crying, you can feel emotion, you can cry. We've cried in therapy sessions. It's okay to be with people and feel what they're feeling. Speaking of being with people, is there a brave group that wants to volunteer and practice what they talked about?
So I've just been having some thoughts that it'd be easier if I just weren't alive anymore.
Okay, I understand. I'm sure that's really hard for you, and I'm really sorry that you're going through that right now. We want to help you as best we can, and the best way that I can help you is I have an MSW over there who she'd be really good at being able to help you. She has the tools more than I would to be able to help you with that, and we could talk about it together if that's something you're comfortable with. If not, then we can figure out another route to go, but is that something you'd be comfortable with?
Yeah, that was awesome. Let's give her a hand. What's your name?
I'm Olivia.
Olivia. Thanks, Olivia. That was perfect.
All right, so what is an incident? You guys have any thoughts about that?
An event or an occurrence?
Whoa, good reading. Okay, an event or an occurrence. So what would an incident look like at a site? Can you guys just brainstorm some things that might, yeah.
Like if a child were to fall, like hit their head, or if somebody trips or something.
Okay, awesome. So if someone falls or trips.
That was like 2 of our examples.
What did you say?
I said that was like 2 of our examples on the next slide.
Yeah, good. Anything else? Yeah.
Wouldn't an incident be what we were just discussing as
Yeah.
well?
So
Like
some
if
sort
somebody
of
opened up to you
Uh-huh.
about abuse or suicide.
Right. Great. Any other ideas? Yeah.
This might be a stretch, but like, would like really aggressive bullying be like a type of incident? Like if we see a child that is like really attacking or verbally like hurting
Yeah.
someone?
Yeah, and I think you guys would be great at handling that in the moment and then just come and let us know that it's happening, and then we could maybe help talk to the parents or help talk afterwards. Oh, so she asked about bullying. So if someone was severely bullying another participant, would that be an incident? And yes, I don't think it'd be something that has to be reported, but it'd be definitely something we'd want to address and take care of. Other ideas?
Like a cut or scrape?
Yeah, even just a cut or scrape, yeah, it's definitely something we need to take care of. So, can you go to the next slide? So I think something to keep in mind, an easy way to think of this is this a danger to someone, to themselves or someone else? And that's a good way to think in your mind, is this an incident? Is this something that I need to report? And so this right here is our report form.
Half of it. The first half.
Yeah, it's the first half. The next slide is the next half. So this is something that every single person fills out that witnessed the incident. So if a kid falls on the floor and one of our coaches sees it and the BSW was there too, then we're going to have both you and the BSW fill out a form separately. So you don't fill it out together, you fill it out separately. And so it's pretty easy. You just put in who got hurt. And so let's just use for an example, this wasn't this year, but in a previous year, someone came across a participant, she was a teenager, and she was under the table cutting herself with plastic knives. And so, so they had to fill out an incident report for that because it was a danger to herself, right? And she was hurting herself. So you would put in her name right there, that she's female, what her age is, you'd find out her address, phone number. She would be a student, the date and time of the accident, the exact location of the accident, the witness name. So that would be, if I witnessed it, I'd put my name in there, I'd put my phone number in there, and I'd put my email address in there. And then you want to describe how the incident occurred. You want to use really concise, sort of, and not legalistic in the sense that highfalutin or something like that, but just sort of like, I was in the lunchroom, noticed that such and such was under the table. I walked over there, such and such was cutting herself with plastic knives. I went and got Vari, and she came and took over. Does that make sense? So, yes.
Can I stand next to you?
Yes.
I love what Bari said. There's two things she did. It was factual and concise. So we don't make assumptions up. She must have tripped on something on the floor before she fell. If we didn't say that, we don't put that in there. She tripped. We don't say what it might have been or what could have happened or make assumptions or fill in the blanks. We just say what actually we saw. We also don't put any type of emotional response. It's only factual, such as where she was in distress or whatever. We don't put that in. We just say what actually I saw, what I witnessed, as a legal reporter might do. So that's what we keep it to.
Yeah. Yeah, so just like if you were taking notes and just completely observing unemotionally what happened. Do you guys have questions about what you would, yes?
What's an incident that would happen with like an adult? Because I can think of a million things for kids or teenagers, but like, what's an incident?
If an adult had a physical injury, that would be something, or if they disclosed suicidality, that would be another thing. Or if there was abuse going on, like they said, oh, my spouse hits me, or disclose something like that.
What did she ask? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting to repeat. So she asked, she can see how there would be lots of incidents with children and teens, but what about adults? And so what are some examples of things that could happen with adults? Did that answer your question?
So you said for on the beginning of the form, like we fill where you write the person's name down, and then the rest of it is our information, like we put our address, our phone number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so where it says witness name, that you're the witness. So you, oh, sorry, I just touched my mic. So you're the witness, and it's your phone number and your email address.
So we don't have to get any information about like their address or anything like
You
that?
do up there, see where it says injured person,
Oh.
and then underneath that is the address. So he was asking where we put our information and where we put the injured person's information.
So how would you, how would you
We
go
have
about-
their address on file.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so
So
if
you don't
they're
have to
in
be like, can I
crisis.
get your address for
Yeah.
this?
I'm sorry, I can't help you right now. I have to do all this paperwork. Yeah. No, you can just make sure that you do that after the incident occurs, before you go home. Other questions? That was great. Thank you for asking that. Okay, and so then you want to make sure you say what happened. How did we address this problem? And basically who took over. So if you went and told one, like Mandy or me, you put our names. If you talked to the educational coordinator, you put their name. And then if you had to give first aid or anything like that, kind of how you helped out that way. Do you want to do the next slide? Thanks.
Or would you explain that even though you might bring a PSW right in with the crisis at the moment, this isn't filled out till the end of the night after you're done?
Yeah, you don't have to do it right then. We just do it at the end of the night before you go home. Does that make sense? Okay. Then you kind of describe the nature of the injury. If they fell and hurt their knee, you put that was their knee. We do want to notify the parents, but this is key, is that we want to first get an MSW, a VSW, or the educational coordinator to come help in the moment, and then notify the parents afterwards. But we do want to notify the parents. And usually you won't need to do that. One of us will go and talk to the parents. And so you want to make sure the parents were notified. And this is for suicide, so a plan for safety. So you just want to check in and make sure you're checking in on us, that we've done our job, and that we've made a plan for safety if they're suicidal. And then you will want to know if it's something we need to report to DCFS. So if it's child abuse, we have to report that. Abuse of someone who's an adult but doesn't have all their mental capacities, that's someone we need to report if they're being abused. And then you won't know the case number, but if we have one, you can ask us or we can fill that in for you later. If we had to report it to law enforcement and all those information, a lot of times that doesn't happen, and so you just put not applicable. If they had to go to the hospital, I don't think that's ever happened. If someone got something stolen or ruined by someone else, then you'd have to fill out that. That's not happened yet either. And then there's just additional information. So again, you're going to put your information on the report, the phone number, the address, who the supervisor is, so that would be one of the MSWs. And then our phone number, and then anything else you want to add, and then you sign it and date it. Does that make sense? I think it sounds really complicated, but it's pretty intuitive, and we'll be with you there at the end of the night to help fill it out. So it's really not that big of a deal. Your big deal is just finding someone to take over, basically, yeah.
I just want to make sure, like, from the online training, it's within the 2 hours of the incident, so it's before you go home, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Always before you go home. Do not go home. Do not let that person
Please.
go home until you know about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be right then that you fill out the paperwork. You could do the paperwork
Yes.
at the end of the night, as long as right after the incident you contact someone.
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right. So she asked, you don't have to fill out paperwork right then. The important thing within the 2 hours is that you got one of us or VSW to help out. That is the within the 2 hours. And we will fill out the report at the end of the night. So that's a great clarifying question.
So a quick little fun, super fun pop quiz for you guys. Do you hand this paperwork to the participant? No? Okay, awesome. And you don't have to print these, we have them on site. So those are the two things I had to add. Okay, my 2 cents. Okay, so let's do a couple scenarios. We'll read through them, and then you guys have to decide if we should do an incident report. A 10-year-old boasts that their family tradition is wrestling. This was actually one that happened on my site last semester, and this is the one that the participant was like, help, this kid just said this. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad you asked me, but I will talk to the parents. And I did, and they laughed because they said, like, the grandpa broke the dad's rib when he was younger, and so they said, like, their family tradition is breaking ribs. The kid was just, like, joking. So, yes, you probably would not have to fill out an incident report for that. Okay, this second one also happened at my last site. They had me do this training because I had, like, 40 things happen at my last site. So here we go. Number 2, an 11-year-old comments that he doesn't feel safe now that his extended family moved into the house. That's definitely something we should, like, look into, right? So maybe fill out an incident report and definitely talk to one of the site leaders about it. And then we have a parent participant trips on the way to parent class. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I doubted for a second. That's why you ask me, and if I don't know, I'll ask Bari. So her question is, if they trip but they're not like hurt, do you have to report it? No, you don't have to. But yeah, if they have like a big bruise or like they're limping, then you should probably report it. Okay, next one. A toddler falls in class and is bleeding. Definitely, right? So our course of action, Lisa had this scenario last semester. So she was a lowly teacher like you guys. I'm just kidding. And now she's one of our administrators because she loves our program. So she had a kid fall and was bleeding. And we were like shadowing the classroom. So right away she came out in the hall. She said, I need help. And it was a little boy. So a BSW boy and a boy teacher went to the boys' restroom because you always have to have 2 people with a kid and should probably be the same gender in the bathroom. So they all went to the bathroom while me and Lisa kept teaching the class. So that was a perfect example. And then we filled out an incident report later. Okay, in class, a 7-year-old mentions how alcohol burns to drink. What do you think? Danielle says yeah, Casey says yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something you can talk about. Okay, so Wilma says it's important to ask follow-up questions, but you should definitely report it to us. Yes. And we'll talk to the parents and see if it needs to be an incident report. So it'd be good to say like, oh, I actually saw this at my other site last semester, and the teacher did really good. They said like, that was a really interesting comment you made. Can we talk about that after class? And they said, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. And they kept the class going and got them refocused on like applicable things for their age group. So I don't know if you watched the same video that we did last semester, but he talked about how we are working with families. It's not like people, like we're not in finances where you lose $1,000 or like you lose a business. We're working with people and people's lives, and it's really awesome, but it's also challenging, and there's some hard things that happen, but we can get close to people. We just need to use our common sense and ask lots of questions. So these are pictures from my site at the Orem site last semester.
So if you guys were to say what your takeaways were from this section, what would you say? Yeah.
I would say in our area, over-report to our site coordinators and BSW.
Whoa, perfect. So he said he would over-report to the site leaders, the BSW, the MSW, the site educational coordinator. Awesome. So if you don't know if it's an incident, ask. It's always better to err on the side of over-reporting rather than under-reporting. Great. Awesome. Other ideas or takeaways that you guys had?
Jessica?
I like that we practice the suicide thing and the part about validating their concern. I think that's huge because we don't want them to feel embarrassed or ashamed of reporting or telling us about those things, because then if those thoughts ever happen again, they're not going to share it with us. So.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. So Jessica said that we need to be compassionate, validate how they're feeling, and care about what they're telling us. So I think that's great. So what do you do if there's an incident? What's your first step? What do you do? Who do you tell? Yes. I think you look like you're about to say something. I know you didn't read. No? Okay.
Time's up, yeah.
You tell whoever's closest to you, whatever site leadership is closest.
Awesome. So you're going to have a radio. You're going to be able to probably look outside, see if there's someone there. You could pop out and see if there's someone there. Get to know your families. Make sure you report suicide, and do not leave until you have talked to us, and do not let the person who's having the incident leave until you've talked to us. And everyone has to fill out an incident report who sees it. Do you guys have any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.